We have proven the identity of the Supreme in the epitome of scriptures, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the first 10 episodes of this series 1. Episodes 11 to 14 have the references from the Bible and Quran, proving the same Supreme of the Gita to be the Supreme in both the religions. Episode 15 presents proofs that the Supreme in the Guru Granth Sahib is also the union of Rathi Sarathi, the Surya Netra Shiva, in the bodily chariot of Shamakara, the Arjuna. And now, in this dual episode 16 and 17, we shall see the references from the Vedas and Manusmrti. We introduced these color codes in series 1 in a logical fashion. We request the viewers to make note of these color codes while going through the notes mentioned on the screen that are coded with these color codes. One may find an additional green color coded words. The mystery of this green personality is elaborately revealed in series 3 with a variety of evidences from all world cultures. The Shamakara, meaning the doer or establisher of Shama, meaning peace, through the Jnana Agni, the fire or the light of the sun, the Savitra, the Bharga, a metaphor for the only source of light of wisdom, the auspicious knower of truth, called Satyam Shivam in Sanskrit. Together are the two-headed Agni, the supreme in the Vedas. Let's prove the same. In this 12th verse of chapter 15 in the Gita, the Srimad Bhagavat, the supreme intellect, says, the radiance of Aditya, the sun, that illumines the entire Jagat, and that radiance in the moon and in the fire, know that radiance to be mine. The common understanding is that Bhagavan is talking about the corporeal sun and moon in the sky and the fire, one of the 5 elements. But no, Sri Bhagavan talks about the 3 main souls in the entire Gita, and the word Jagat here has a meaning different from the ordinary. The ordinary meaning applies to the cycle of bodily birth and death, but Bhagavan's self, being the Srimat, the auspicious intellect, is mentioning about the birth and death of the soul, the intellect in wisdom, during the 2 half worlds on our earth, the Amrita Loka with living immortal stable intellect in us human beings, and the Mrityu Loka with dead inert intellect full of unrighteousness and darkness of clashing opinions. In the Gita verse 2 of chapter 10, including certain other verses, Bhagavan says, Aham Adihi Sarvashaha, which means I am the first in every way. My excellent divine birth at the peak of the unrighteousness is known neither to the deities of upward world, the Amrita Loka, nor the sages, meaning the 7 sages of the Adholoka, the downward world of clashing opinion, Asura Loka, called Mrityu Loka, or the dead intellect world. I, the ever unborn Supreme Father, self-manifest by dwelling in my Prakriti, the primordial nature, the created life, Adam, Arjuna, aptly named Dehabhritam Vara, meaning the best of the bodily chariot or the field, Kshetra, known to me, the Kshetragya. I am the guiding sun of wisdom, the Surya Netra, Shiva. Through my fire-like radiance of wisdom, Arjuna establishes Shama, peace in the world of clashing opinions, thus called Shamakara, on whose forehead is shown the soul of the personality metaphorically symbolized with crescent moon. The same elaboration is the meaning of these words in the Gita verse 19 of chapter 11. Shashi Surya Neptram Deeptahutasha Vaktram Swatejasa Vishwam Idam Tapantam. Arjuna does severe penance of earning the complete wealth of wisdom radiant like fire, is thus aptly addressed Param Tapa Jnanagni Dhanam Jaya. Thus is the Agni called Ignis, Agnus or Agnes in other ancient cultures. Thus the Adi Sri Bhagavan says, the one corporeal who is created completely in my likeness is the Aditya, meaning born from me, the Adi, who illumines all the people in wisdom, thus named Bharata Diptahutasha Vaktram or Agni. Thus is this meaningful two-headed statue of Agni, the two equals in wisdom. Please see episodes 7 to 10 in series 1 and world pictorial evidences to know the identity of the crescent moon, including the two-headed Agni found in all world cultures in series 3. Thus, Gita has the following adjectives or dual nouns for the Agni: Kshetragya, Kshetra; Purusha, Prakriti; Ajopi san avyaya atma, Dehabhritamvara, which mean ever incorporeal and ever corporeal. Rathi, Sarathi; Purushottama, Purushavyaghra; Parampita, Jagatpita or Tat; Parampita, Shrimat; Mahatmata, the Shri Mata, are the dual together called Brahma, the Param Brahma, Shri Guru. This dual-headed Agni is called Aha'il in the Hebrew language, mentioned in Tanakh, the Jewish Bible. The word Hebrew itself means dual patriarch. The incorporeal Parampita Shiva and the corporeal Jagatpita, the Tat Arjuna, who is called Adam in other Abrahamic religions. Aha'il is also from the Sanskrit root aha for light of wisdom, and il is the ila, the primordial nature, the prakriti, the body conscious, becoming il, the soul conscious Purusha. Detailed proofs are presented in series 3. Thus, the Dehabhritamvara Arjuna is addressed as Purusha Rishabha and Purusha Vyaghra, the Vishnu in the image of the Purushottama Bhagavan, a male soul, meaning one who is completely detached from the feminine bodily attachment, fully radiating the fire of immortal wisdom called Amrita or Buddhivan or Pragyavan in Sanskrit. The same is mentioned in this Rig Veda verse, which praises the one true Vipra, meaning the one and only wise, the twice born Brahman, who is full or complete in wisdom called Rajavidya, praised with many names, and the same is mentioned in the Gita verse 4 of chapter 13. Thus is the Ishopanishad verse that describes about the two Purnas, meaning the dual full in wisdom, well depicted in this statue of Agni, also called the Vajra, the two-headed weapon of thunder plus lightning, the bodily mouth, the Bhaga, the howling and roaring mic, Rudra, plus the auspicious Shiva, the intellectual lightning called Srimat in the Gita, together called Srimad Bhagavat. Thus, in this Rigveda verse, the one complete in light of wisdom, the Veda with Agni, is aptly addressed as Jata Vedas, who takes all beyond the ocean of sorrows and pain to the land of immortal happiness. The verse mentions for Jata Vedas the knower of wealth of wisdom, another adjective being Dhanamjaya. Let us press the Soma. May he consume the wealth of the malignant. May Agni carry us through all our troubles, through grief, as in a boat across the river. The same is mentioned for Noah in all the Abrahamic scriptures. The word Noah itself is from Sanskrit no, meaning ship, the bodily ship of the best of the bodily beings, Dehabhritamvara Arjuna, the peace establisher Shamakara, who is intellectually guided by the intellectual driver of his bodily chariot, or the rower of his bodily ship, who has self-manifested, thus called Swayambhu Bhagavan. The same is mentioned in the Gita verse 24, of chapter 8 about Agni being the Param Brahma Shri Guru, those who know and receive light of wisdom from this dual souls in one body go to the immortal world. And the immediate next verse mentions that those who catch hold of the moon of darkness return to the clashing opinion dead intellect mortal world. Thus, as said in this Rigveda verse, the one who controls the moon, called Somanatha in Sanskrit, a name for Shiva Shankara, let's briefly see how the moon is brought under control through the details we see in this 13th century statue of Shiva. First, let's see the Parashu, the wood cutting weapon called axe. As said in the chapter 15 of the Gita, this weapon, called weapon of detachment, is used to cut the 7 branches of the human family tree belonging to the moon's downward world of 7 star-like children of the night, the hell, the world of moon's 7 star-like children, the Saptarishi, is called the forest of clashing opinion animal-like people, aptly called the Khandava one or Naimisharanya of the 7 sages, is cut with this axe. This weapon of detachment is shown in a variety of ways, like the axe, the arrow of Mercurius, the sword, or Gandiva, and in many other ways, meaning the two-headed weapon which cuts the branches and leaves the Gandhi, the trunk with roots, a simile for one righteous religion of immortal divine people called the deity religion. Such peace is brought by the peace establisher Shamakara, the bodily vessel of Shiva, by becoming detached of bodily sense organs in the image of Purushottama Shiva. Thus, the Agni, Bharata, Jnana Yagya Kundalini Shri Mata, meaning the primordial nature Arjuna, who holds the auspicious intellect Shrimat in his bodily vessel, thus called the Shri Mata, the auspicious wisdom birth giver of all, the Bharata Mata, the Gita Mata, called Adam in Abrahamic religions, are all praised as the wood cutter. To understand in detail with world pictorial evidences, please see series 3. The deer is symbolic of crescent moon shown on the forehead of Shiva Shankara. In Hindu scriptures, the deer is shown as the vehicle of moon god, also shown in ancient Islamic al-Buraq image. Although the moon is shown in all the alchemical images along with the sun and the bodily Agni, but one may see the image of deer along with the moon in an ancient alchemical image by name Basilica Chymica of 1618. All the images are presented with their details in series 3. Deer has a metaphorical meaning depicting unstable little intellect as against the stable intellect Agni, the Shamakara shown in the tiger skin, thus addressed as Purusha Vyaghra in the Gita, which means tiger-like soul-conscious Vishnu. The two-finger posture is symbolic of the dual complete in wisdom called Purna in Sanskrit, the Shiva Shankara. This posture is also shown in the picture of Saint Sophia in a Russian church, ancient picture of Jesus on cross, which in reality is Adam on cross, and a picture of Vishnu as well. It is also found in the churches. In series 3, this dual posture is well explained using a wonderful ancient Hindu picture and a Jewish picture. Thus, verily, the only other name completely in match with this Shiva Shankara Chandrama or the Agni with Soma is the Jewish name of the Supreme called Elohim, a combination of Aha'il and Him. The word Him in Sanskrit means the solidified or icy, jammed, a metaphor for moon's intellectual capability. All the 3 are addressed as Adam in the Jewish scripture, which is again from the Sanskrit word Adi. For all evidences, see Series 3. These nouns in praise of Agni are mentioned supported with pictorial images. We request the viewers to pause the video and view the wonderful details in them. The explanation of these pictures is presented in Series 3. Here is the god Num, recognizable by ram's head. Ram is shown as the vehicle of the double-headed Agni, the god of fire, always shown seated on Ram. The picture shows God Ra with his solar bark. The solar bark is the representation of the sun of wisdom, Shiva. The word cosmos actually meant order and arrangement in the world. It is Agni, the destroyer of the world, Rudra, who destroys falsehood in the world and establishes one opinioned heavenly world of one righteous religion. The key held in the hand is the symbol Ankh, the key of eternal life, Adam, as also mentioned in these Gita verses. The Ankh is modified to cross in the Christianity, and the man shown sacrificed on the cross is misinterpreted to be the Jesus, whereas the man on the cross is Adam, the Shankara, Arjuna, the Agni, the one who sacrifices his bodily chariot for the service of establishing the one righteous religion in the world, called Agni, Rudra, the only one conferred with the title of Bhagavan in the Vedas. Here's the list of all the 10 books with all the hymns. Maximum number of hymns are in appreciation of the name Agni or the adjectives of the Agni, along with the second personality appreciated called Soma. Please see Series 3 to have elaborate understanding of the two lords of our corporeal world, Agni and Soma, through world religious pictorial evidences in the Series 3. Here is the evidence that both Krishna and Shukla Yajurveda start with the appreciation of Rudra, the Agni. Here is the evidence that both the third and the fourth Veda, the Sama Veda and Atharva Veda, begin with the appreciation of Agni. Once again, we reiterate to the viewers, please see Series 3 to have a complete idea of Agni, Soma, and the Elohim, the three-eyed Shiva Shankara, through the world pictorial evidences and scriptural evidences in Series 3. We shall continue our episode 17, God in Manusmrti, along with this episode on the God in the four Vedas, because the verses mentioned say very much the same that we already elaborated. The first verse from chapter 1 in Manava Dharma Shastra, the Manusmrti, mentions the great sages approached Manu, who was seated with a collected mind, and having duly worshipped him, spoke as follows. The word ekagram is translated in English as a collected mind. However, the word ekagram is formed of two words, eka, which means one, plus agram, which means first, foremost, chief, best, prominent, principal. In this dual episode, we started with explaining the word Aditya, including the word Swayambhuvaha, that is also mentioned in the third verse below. That precisely said that Shivanetra self-manifests in the bodily primordial nature, Shamakara Arjuna, thus becoming intellectually active. Hence the Supreme Soul rises first, thus being called Adi, and raises Arjuna by being his intellectual driver, creating or enabling him in doing Jnana Manana Chintana Manthana, meaning thinking, contemplating, churning the knowledge. Thus, Arjuna is the greatest Muni called Manu. Thus, Manu is always engaged in the remembrance of that Adi who rises first and is raising him in his likeness, that is wisdom, said as Manum Ekagram Asinam in this verse. The one in tiger skin, Vyaghra Charma, remembers the supreme intellect self-manifested in his bodily chariot, mentioned as Avyabhichari, Ananyena Yogena or Ananyena Smriti, does Param Tapa, severe penance, aptly addressed as Parantapa, to establish Shama, thus called Shamakara, becomes soul-conscious Purushavyaghra, Vishnu, in the image of Purushottama, Shiva. The word Vyaghra is again formed of three words, and the Vishnu's two nouns, Purushavyaghra and Narasimha, have a significant meaning and difference. Please see Series 3 for the relevant explanation and evidences. The second verse starts with Deen, the Divine One, which is an incorrect translation for the word Bhagavan. Please see the previous episode and episode number 10 of Series 1 to have a complete understanding of the word Bhagavan, which is another word for Swayambhuvaha. Thus, the verse goes this way: Bhagavan, to declare to us precisely and in due order the sacred laws of each of the four chief Varnas and of the immediate ones. The third verse mentions, For thou, O Bhagavan, alone knowest the laws taught in this whole ordinance of the self-existent, the Swayambhuvaha, who is unknowable and unfathomable. For the analysis of the word Bhagavan, see episode 10, and for the definition of sacred laws called Dharma in the Gita, see episode 3 to 5 in series 1. The four Varnas, Varna meaning color, is not about the bodily social castes humans have miscreated, but it is the four phases every soul passes through during the day and night of the world cycle, called heaven and hell, with righteous and unrighteous attributes of one religion and divided irreligions, which have four parts, like that of a day or four seasons of a year, meaningfully named as golden, silver, copper, iron-like phases of the soul in its infant and child phase, when the soul is soul conscious, called Purusha or the male soul, and the adulthood and old phase, when the soul is body conscious, feminine oriented. The soul or the mind and intellect in these four phases is classified as Diti, Kshatra, Vaishya, Kshudra colored. At the end of the cycle of day and night, the heaven and hell, the Kshudra, meaning the lowly, mean soul, learns Brahma Vidya, called Raja Vidya and Raja Yoga, becomes a Brahmana after recognizing the dual fathers, the Agni, the Sada Vipra, the Dvija Brahmana, Param Brahma Shri Guru, and transforms self to deity class soul again. Please see series 3 for all world proofs. Verse number 5 mentions this existed in the shape of darkness, unperceived, destitute of distinctive marks, unattainable by reasoning, unknowable, wholly immersed as it were in deep sleep. The same is described about Arjuna, who is full of falsehood in his last birth, and Bhagavan comes to make him wise in his own image at the end of his last birth. The next verse mentions then the self-existent, the Swayambhu, indiscernible, but making this the great elements and the rest discernible, appeared with irresistible creative power, dispelling the darkness. In this verse, the words Mahabhuta Swayambhur Bhagavan Avyaktah Adi Vrittojaha, the best of the five element bodily being, Dehabhritamvara Arjuna, the Prakriti, the Bhaga, the bodily womb inside which the Avyakta Adi, the ever unborn first, Swayambhuh, meaning self-manifested and taken control of the Bhaga, thus called Bhagavan, is the Purna Purushottama Shiva, who then makes that enclosure, the Bhaga, the Prakriti, Purna Purusha, called Purusha Vyaghra, or the Sada Vipra Agni, completely filled with the light of wisdom in Shiva's likeness, thus said as the Adi created Aditya, who then takes up the task of being the Bharata, Akhila Jagata Bhasyate Deeptahutasha Vaktram Swatejasa Vishwam Idam Tapantam, dispelling the darkness of falsehood. Just as said in these two Gita verses. The same words are mentioned in Gita verse 5 of chapter 13. The next verse goes, he who can be perceived by the intellect, who is subtle, indiscernible, and eternal, who contains all created beings and is inconceivable, shown forth of his own will. The relevant Gita verses are also mentioned beside these Manusmrti verses. The next verse, number 8, mentions, he desiring to produce beings of many kinds from his own body, first with a thought created the waters and placed his seed in them. Next verse is, that became a golden egg in brilliancy equal to the sun. In that dead egg, he himself was born as Brahma, the progenitor of the whole world. This is the Mahat Brahma, the Param Brahma, the combined form of the Supreme Father and the Father of the entire world, Tat Arjuna, Adam, in the image of the Purushottama Bhagavan. Etymology of the word under mentions Suta, the disciple of Vyasa, said to the Munis at the Naimisharanya about the creation of the universe. In the beginning, in the heavy universal darkness, the first seed of life appeared. The word anda is described as the primal seed as well as egg from which everything was born. And even the Sanskrit meaning of the word anda mentions egg, testicle, semen, virile. However, please note the meaning of anda as an independent egg or seed is incorrect. The right meaning should be egg with seed, the fertilized egg. Egg, the Prakriti, the Dehabhritam Vara, Arjuna, who is fertilized by the seed of wisdom called Srimat, the Supreme Soul Bhagavan. Anda is an impregnated egg with sperm, fertilized egg, because neither the egg nor the seed can independently produce progeny. The bodily Prakriti, impregnated with the seed, the sperm, is well represented through the image of Saint Sophia, the divine Ignis, the Agni, which is elaborated in completeness in series 3. Thus, viewers to have complete understanding of the word Mritanda, golden egg, Brahma or the Param Brahma, the mother of all, called Saint Sophia, the divine Ignis in Abrahamic scriptures, or the Agni in the Rig Veda. Please see episode 10, 16 in series 1, and please see the world pictorial evidences presented in our series 3. The next verse 10 is completely incorrect. The right translation is, the waters are called Naraha, for the waters of knowledge are indeed produced of Nara. That Nara or Kshetra was his, meaning Bhagavan's first residence, the Ayana. He, meaning the Nara, thence is named Narayana. Narayana or the Vishnu, called Purushavyagra in the Gita, an address of Arjuna, is shown floating on the ocean. This is a figurative representation of Arjuna becoming completely soul conscious, devoid of body consciousness, thinking, churning, and contemplating the knowledge, the Vedas, the wisdom. Verse number 11 mentions, from that first cause, which is indiscernible, eternal, and both real and unreal, was produced that male, who is famed in this world under the appellation of Brahma. The exact duplication is the verse number 1 and 2 in chapter 5 of book 1 in Jewish Tanakh. Verse number 12 on the screen mentions, the divine one resided in that egg during a whole year. Then he himself, by his thought alone, divided it into two halves. In this verse too, the word Bhagavan is translated as divine, which is an incorrect translation, as discussed earlier. Thus, Bhagavan is the one who resided in that primordial bodily chariot, the egg, the field, the one temple in which the unipresent Bhagavan resides. The word Parivatsaram is translated as a whole year. However, when we take a deep dive in the meaning of the word Parivatsaram, the word is formed of three words, Pari, Vat, and Sara. Pari is used for the entire circumference, which is an indication of the entire world cycle time. The word Vat means enclosure, and the word Sara means liquid, river, cathartic, moving, going. Thus, the bodily chariot of Arjuna, Adam, the Prakriti, the primordial nature, is the enclosure inside which Bhagavan, the Supreme Soul, resides and fertilizes that bodily egg with his Srimat, which is translated here as thought. The word Srimat means the auspicious intellect, which is the knowledge of the entire world cycle time. The two halves are related to the equal duration heaven and hell, heaven consisting of Satyuga and Treta Yuga, the golden and silver age, and hell consisting of the copper and the iron age. Please see episode number 3 in series 2, which elaborately gives the right meaning of the word yuga, where we have presented the evidences on the world cycle being just 5,000 years in total. Book number 32 on the screen mentions dividing his own body, the Prabhu, meaning Prakrashta Bhuti, the Swayambhu, became half male and half female. With that female, he produced Virajam. This female is called Ila, who became Ila in certain mythological stories. Even in the Jewish scripture, the female Adam becomes the male Adam in the image of the one and only man, Yehovah. From the female, Virajam was produced, which means Visesha Raja, addressed as Kiriti, meaning the crowned, the king of kings, the Kuru Pravira, the Partha, the Virat, the Purusha Vyaghra, Vishnu. Please see all the relevant evidences from the Jewish Tanakh as well as world pictorial evidences that show half male, half female in series 3. The next verse on the screen mentions, when that Deva wakes, then this world stirs. When he slumbers tranquilly, then the universe, the Jagat, the corporeal world, sinks to sleep of ignorance. Verse number 57 means, thus he, the imperishable one, by alternatively waking and slumbering incessantly, revivifies and destroys this whole movable and immovable creation. Viewers, to have complete understanding about dividing the body into two halves, Deva waking in wisdom, and the creation of movable and immovable on this earth, etc. And for all the secrets revealed in most practical manner, please see the world pictorial evidences presented in our series 3. We request the viewers to watch the 3 series and the episodes within the series in the numbered sequence. We have used questioning technique where each and every point is questioned, answered in the most practical manner, supported by religious scriptural references and other authentic evidences, and thus are arranged in logically meaningful flow.